My name is Wasu Duta. So how Wasu Duta and Manape, and that's the way I'll say that. I'm Santee, lineal descendant of Medewa Kantawan, and that's where my bloodline goes, Minnesota.
Akichita Hokshira Imachiapi. My name is Soldier Boy, and I'm Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, and Ho-Chunk. And my father was Chuske Denny, and my other father is Frank Lemire that raised me, and my mother was Cynthia Rouse, and she was Yahanktawan. And so today you're in the teepee of the Ocheti Council. And I'm a headsman of this circle of the Ocheti Shakoi teepees. And I'm also a government representative of the Sioux Nation of Indians. And I'm in the UN database as well as Wasu. And we really look forward to taking those steps eventually with the UN and with any nations that want to be friends and allies, because there's a lot of them that want to see our nation grow. And I think that once we start breaking ground on a national level, there's going to be a lot of blessings for our relatives to be able to truly take care of the elderly, the sick, children, and maybe even have our own schools that are state sanctioned, things like that. So that's who I am, and thank you for coming in a good way. Treaty land isn't the final boundaries of our nation. Okay. America has acknowledged that our land base is bigger, and that Americans are using that land. We didn't give nothing. Even yesterday I heard somebody say, well, a treaty is us giving land. We didn't give anything. We're allowing them to use. It's like a landlord or a roommate, and that roommate, I'm gonna let that person move into the house, and I'm gonna say, okay, you can have this, and I'll have this room down here, but I'll let you use this part of the house. And that's kind of what treaty is. I still own the house, but I'm letting you guys use this over here. And so language has been using the English language to define what that treaty is has been very difficult, because the dialogue that has been passed down is that we gave. To give, if I give you something, that means you own it now, right? And so it's been acknowledged by the U.S. Justice Department and U.S. Court of Claims that not only do we belong to the treaty land, but a larger piece from Wisconsin to Wyoming. That's the land that we belong to. But in Washichu terms, that's the land that belongs to us. Okay? So, but we know that the land don't belong to us. We belong to the land. Okay? So that's why I want to clarify, because when we use legal definitions or legal terms, we have to say that, well, this land belongs to us. But we all know amongst ourselves that that it's the other way around. They're acknowledging this is the land base that we belong to. You see. So it's very limiting when we say, okay, the 51 Treaty says this is ours. The 68 Laramie Treaty says this is ours. This is the boundary. But we also have to realize that there's a bigger piece here. And that's part of the work. The work that we do is simply to protect what is ours, and also to reclaim, not to be indifferent or against anybody, because a treaty is about being friends and allies.
Reciprocity.
And reciprocity, yes, absolutely. And they have to start conducting themselves as friends and allies. But I don't know if we'll get there if we continue to acknowledge ourselves and limit ourselves just to the reservation or just to treaty land. And I think that where people have a lot of trouble is they claim treaty. They claim treaty. Well, the treaty says this, the treaty says that, but they're American citizens. And they'll only go so far. They'll only get to go so far, and they'll be given crumbs. And we've been given crumbs for too long. And so we're not asking for the whole piece of the pie yet, because we barely have the ability to govern what little we do have. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. You know, we could barely govern what little we do have. You know, we're barely starting to govern what's going on in this camp. You know, and so there's a lot of weight on the headsmen that are here. We're restarting, restarted that Ocheti fire.
Renewing.
Yeah. And so it's all the headsmen, they don't know it, but they're part of this treaty work. You know, and they're not even treaty yet. You know, so it'll be interesting to see how we move forward, the governance that's going to be in place, and the direction that we're going to be going. It's strictly to be friends and allies, to continue to be friends and allies. We're not like those Washichu groups that they're patriots. They become sovereign. They say, "Well, I'm sovereign now."
Yeah.
And we're not saying that. You know, we do have sovereignty because of our treaty status. We're not under the eagle wing of the United States. You know, and it's up to the United States and these counties and states for them to take responsibility to learn how to identify who we are. It's not our responsibility to do that. We are just who we are. And they're going to have to learn real quick, because we're here, and it ain't going to go away, because it's in our heads, it's in our hearts, it's in their own law books, it's in their Library of Congress, it's in the Supreme Court. So hopefully we want to continue to be friends and allies. We want to reinforce that treaty, and we want to hold them accountable for their word. It can be difficult, or it could be simple. It's simple for us. It'll be difficult for them because of their mind. So we'll change their mind, but it'll be hard on them. You know. And so that's what I have to say about that for now. Yeah.
What, do you have a question? Go ahead, ask me a question about. Let's start with 1924.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the reason, I know why that started. Some of the times I like to just say it the way I understand it, want to. I know I don't do stuff text for text exactly. Don't have that kind of memory, but I know from what I read, being enacted by the House of Representatives and the Senate, that Congress agreed that they granted and gave, citizenship to the Native Americans, now Native Americans, because of 1924. But us down the road to current times are aware of that. A lot of people don't even know, maybe a few attorneys here and there, but I was like, really, 1924, when I read that, I don't have to consent. I didn't have to do that, but I got a social security card number, everything from the United States. That's when I became a citizen in full effect. Your allegiance, servitude, and everything is to that, corporate America, I guess you want to call it, corporation. So therefore, when this is my cousin, by the way, and his father, my uncle, told me these things, a friend of me on Facebook, out of nowhere, and I probably met him when I was like a little guy at my mom's house, but it was a long time ago. And so when he started talking to me within the first half hour, that's where I had started to learn 1924, 1934, 1868, 51, all these dates. 1870 or 1887, when they'd actually said no more treaties.
1814.
1814, all that came. Those dates and numbers are very important. So I'd realized, wow, I didn't have to sign up for a Social Security card number. Then, so I started to learn about the birth certificate. Those things are all connected to becoming a full citizen of the United States and state, and recognizing who you are the American way. So I was like, well, I never did feel that way. I never did feel American either. So I was like, I'm not part of their system. So how do I get out of it? I don't want to be a part of something that actually has showed oppression, deprivation, and basically impaired us of our land, our rights, our original ancestral birthrights to the roots of our people, our lands. Our sites are being desecrated. The Black Hills for years now I've watched. They opened up a saloon up there that can go up and drink and, do really vile and foul behavior.
Right at the bottom of our most sacred place.
It's a sanctuary.
Literally at the bottom of it. Full throttle saloon. When that burned down, they moved it. And when I drove by it the other day, it's right at the bottom of Bear Butte.
Yeah.
At the bottom. Now it used to be about 2 miles away, mile and a half away. Now it's right at the bottom of it.
So I asked myself, I wonder how they would like it if we go over there and drink in their churches and have sex in their churches and all that, because Black Hills to us is a holy sanctuary, So, and it's disgusting. I don't even want to go to the Black Hills anymore, even though I know those are, that they belong to us exclusively. Says it in the 1980 case. Proof, So it's disgusting and very appalling. And I've said that in federal court in Rapid City. This is very appalling. I'm grieving the loss of my wife, and you guys bring me within 5 days. I didn't even have my full year, at least 3 months or 4 months to let it soak, but let me get over. But you dragged me into your court and just totally just is rude and very unhuman-like, and I even explained that to the judge, and, but he apologized to me after that, but I had to say, is she there? I had to go explain my sovereignty within said territory of the 1868 treaty, which is in 2 parts, but still means the same. Fort Laramie Treaty, 1868. Dakota Treaty Territory of 1868, Sioux Country. So I have a defense letter and everything that I use, so I had to tell them, I don't consent to jurisdiction. I'm not waiving my sovereign immunity rights within said territory of 1868. I don't have to. I'm not subject to service to any court, state or federal. Where I need to be with what's going on here is in world court, because we have rogue officials that work and are employed by the United States of America. One of them's a governor, the other one's a judge. Showing prejudice towards our people, my people, and also declaring that 25 CFR 83 1994 Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals failure to recognize a particular group of Indians as to what they are explaining to you. I am Sioux Nation of Indians. I am a Dakota Sioux. These are my people. This is who I am. Wo Dakota. This is everything I am. That's why we say Wo. Wo Dakota Miedo. This is who I am. All of me. I'm representing all of me. My land, my people, my way of life, everything I'm showing you. That was disrespected when I seen the letter where it had said 1 or 2 names, the president and a few other people, and then down below, what do they call it? Jane and John Does, describing my people as such. That's failure to recognize on part of the judge alone. Mm-hmm. So that's a violation of our treaty. In fact, can be filed upon him, and so that's what we're going to look into doing that as well. And so everything that I'm about is about the legality part of when you address me, know who I am, rather than he looks like a regular Joe, but maybe I need to find out a little bit more how he feels about everything that's going on before I make a judgment. We're not Americans anymore because of their behavior. You know, we thought about this. I have, you know, basically the demeanor, the behavior, the labeling, the profiling, all of it just tied into how I feel. And it's a burden of disgust. I mean, it just overwhelms me that I have to wake up every day knowing that Bunchi across the road has nothing to eat. We live in paper houses that the government provides. All these things. We're not happy. We're tired of that. While they drive around in clean cut cars, clean clothes all the time, money by their corporate system that provides protection and everything for them. We don't have that. But they sure teach us how to be corrupt. And that's their fault. I don't blame my people for that because they had to learn to be that way.
It's kind of like in that house you have we're allowing them to use certain parts of the house, a greater part of the house, and they've lived there for so long they've gotten really comfortable that they forgot who the landlord is.
Yeah.
And they're bossing. They're telling the landlord, "Well, you should be happy with that room you're in. You should be happy with it." You
so
know?
When the cat's away, the mice will play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that when my father was the first to repatriate under the name Sioux Nation of Indians, you know, and his vision, we were just talking with Arwell Looking Horse and Paula last night. I gave him a ride home from our prayer service that we had over at the drill pad, and she reminded me of what my father Cheske wanted and what his vision was with this, and I think that I kind of needed that because we can get wrapped up into think, oh, lawsuit, you know, if the judge doesn't recognize you, lawsuit, right? But the most important thing of this is the spiritual part of this, and the pipes that were smoked with those treaties. So I think as Indian people, we say, okay, say you have a box, and you Indians, you live over here in this, in here, right? That's what you're agreeing to go and live on. And our vision is only as far as like that little box. And it says, okay, the treaty says that this is ours right here, and that they have this, right? We gave them that. We have to change that perspective and dialogue, and even amongst ourselves. And we have proof of these things. We have proof of it. In the Citizenship Act, I believe that was another form of genocide. In 1924, the Citizenship Act was the Congress saying that all Indians within the borders of the United States that are indigenous, that they will be granted American citizenship, unless that citizenship impedes on tribal status and property. Okay, and I think everybody can agree that's been the case quite often, you know. And it was really interesting during our action yesterday. We were driving up the river and just being able to talk with the Army Corps of Engineers. They escorted us up to the drill pad and presented the permits to the sheriff, and because we got surrounded by DAPL security, they're mercenaries, and the sheriffs, Morton County sheriffs, and supporting law enforcement officers from other states. And we sent the Army Corps to present and to tell them exactly where Army Corps land is. And it was interesting. They had the perspective that the barbed wire fence that we crossed was theirs, and Army Corps had to demonstrate, no, Our property actually goes farther in. This fence is just to keep cattle from falling off the cliff, you know. And so we got there, and just talking with Army Corps of Engineers, their perspective of ownership, you know, and they fail to recognize that the Army Corps has a responsibility to the land that really is kind of being unused. All right, it's not that they necessarily own it. It's just that they have a responsibility to care and maintain for the sake of citizens of the United States. All right, but also these treaties are about protecting, right? And so they're responsible to the treaty Indian also. We're not separating to abolish that. We're trying to hold people accountable for their promises. You know, it's plain and simple. So it was interesting talking to them and seeing how the Army Corps operates and how I'd love for us Indian people to learn those things, to have a dialogue with the Army Corps, to educate ourselves with how those things are care and maintained for, you know, their perspective of all that. So the Citizenship Act limits, so they'll tell you that Indians are dual citizens. They're a member of a tribe, but they're American also. Well, you're only a member of that tribe if you're if that tribe is federally recognized. All right, so America says if you're a tribe or not, right? Well, who appointed them to be all say all of who's a tribe and who isn't, right? Then you enroll in that tribe, and now since now you become American because they're granting and they gave you that citizenship, right? So actually, a federally recognized tribe, they don't have, they're actually probably 3/4 American. They're not half. They're probably 3/4 American, if anything. All right. So what we do with this treaty work is that you could be a treaty Indian, and it's very simple. It's really super simple. How do you identify yourself? How do I become recognized? If I live in the state of Nebraska, how do I prove to Iowa, or if I get pulled over by law enforcement or the authority of that state or county, how do I prove that I'm from Nebraska? How do I demonstrate that? Same thing, right? How do I prove that I'm from Sioux country? How do I prove I'm the Sioux Nation of Indians? How do you do it? I'm asking you.
A Washington State ID.
Exactly. What's in your wallet, right? So if you're Ogallala Lakota, how do you prove that you're a treaty Indian? Well, I have an ID that says I'm from Pine Ridge. Wrong. That ID shows that you're more American than anything, right? So we create treaty IDs that acknowledge us that we're part of a treaty, and that we're treaty Indians. And there's a certain point, there's steps that we have that you could be and that's what we call dual citizenship. That's true dual citizenship, saying I'm a treaty Indian and I haven't relinquished from my American status. So now I'm truly dual, right? And then there's other parts of our work where you can take it up a notch and get a passport. And if you get a passport, then you'll be requested to relinquish your U.S. citizenship and become full treaty. And there's huge responsibilities to that. There's perks, but there's responsibilities. There's balance to it. Because if you go full treaty status, there's a responsibility to the land, and there's a responsibility to the chanupas that were smoked at that pipe. And I just talking with Arvel Looking Horse last night, Paula, Arvel both reminded me that that's the foundation, the responsibility. And so we're taking that responsibility upon ourselves. Right now there's only like 3 or 4 of us. There's some card carrying members, but to bear the weight of those pipes and that responsibility, that relationship between America and the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota people. And it's hard right now, you know, and we need more. We need more people. But
here's the follow up with that, and what he said has been on track with what I'll just be continuing off of what I said. Okay, so 25 CFR 83 1994 3, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals found the failure of the federal government to recognize a particular group of Indians as a tribe cannot deprive that group of vested treaty rights. The group must have maintained itself as a distinct community identifiable to the group named in the treaty. Do you see? And this is what we've done. And that's where they're not going to win. Not on that. Not even by a landslide through all their trickery and everything like that. Because America, to me, the way I view them is they're a good trickster, but they just weren't good enough. You know, I'm sorry. But whatever happened throughout the years, when his father did their research 20 years prior to friending me on Facebook, which I'm glad he did. You know, it's my relative, so yeah, I know you are. You know my mom, yeah, we're related, we're family. Good, wash day. I like that. You know, so yeah, we talked for hours on the phone, you know, discussing everything that I needed to know. Not knowing that he had, you know, heart issues. Rest in peace, you know, respectably. But I didn't know that. But it became as I developed more determination after I'd learned, and they called me, you're next in line. He is next in line. Well, they asked me, you gonna follow through with this? You know enough now to continue what you're doing, what he told you, what he taught you, what he showed you. So I said, give me an hour, I'll let you know. So they called back. I really thought hard about it, you know, thinking, is this what I want? Is this what I need? Is this gonna help the people? And so they called again, and I told them, yeah, I'll do it. So to me, I don't know if anyone else is aware of this, but I'll say it openly because the way I feel and what I was told, that his father, even though he was raised by another man, but that's okay. You know, it's the way it is, the way we take care of people. We don't disregard you and disown you or shun you or doing things like that. You know, from what we observe from other cultures and their way of life, we see that. The hardship. No, you're 18, you must go now. You know, our way, you stay around, stay with your family, because that shows you have heart. But anyway, so he was about destiny. His father's a spiritual man. So, you know, so if I'm part of that destiny that's there, he's part of the destiny that he's describing and talked about all his life. You know, and that's how it goes. So we accept that. But now we are in a position where we have to tell everybody, and we have to teach everybody. This is what we are, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. And so it's good that you have this, so no, we don't have to maybe explain it over and over and over and over, because it gets tiring. Every day a lot of people want to know what you want to know. You know, well, how did you do this? Or how is that so? How do you have supreme authority here? Things like that. I say, okay, well, let's go back to 1924. You know, I have to keep going back and bring them up. You got to start back in the books. When you go to college, you start with the first page. Then you go to the next one, you go to the next one. Now when you're finished with that page, you know more than the teacher. If not better, because he planted the seed of you learning their educational ways. And part of assimilation to what we had to endure throughout our lives is that they kept our history and the treaties away. And we had to learn American literature, American politics, American way of life. Farm, go to our churches, do what we do, dress like us, think like us. And we won't harm you, but now we're going back to what we truly are and should be. There's a traditional side to us, and we can also impose and keep because of who we are, the traditional side, and we now can have a professional side. You can have both because there is modernization here. We're gonna do this, but we're also gonna go meet with other people dressed like them too. We don't speak our language fluently, but we are looking into doing that, and we are going to learn. I know some. He knows some. He probably knows more than all of us. I know he knows a lot of songs. See, he might even sing one before you go, so we could let you have that for your record, your report. We're not about violence, but we will fight back. We're the guy in the corner. We don't want to be cornered. We want you to understand that we're not here for that. We're here for reciprocity, to establish and build a relationship with the United States, with other Americans, in a peaceful manner. So our mission is of peace for everyone, but we're just tired of the abuse and the neglect and the thought that I throw out there of my own. Oh, I'll just give them another box of cheese, they'll be all right. We don't need that. We're not beggars, and we are not heathens. We are basically a people that had a really beautiful culture that is, I say, minutely, practically almost just ridiculed by the American public society. But there are Americans that have good hearts that want to come here and express good and appreciation. If not for our people and our other tribes throughout the whole country here on this continent or the region, the Pilgrims would have never made it. They were freezing, they were dying, they were getting sick as soon as they even hit land. They didn't know what to do. We taught them warmth. We showed them our hospitality. We didn't go and engage in war with them right away and, whatever. We helped you, your ancestors. Warmth, wear proper shoes, how to feed your family, keep your house warm, how to go fishing, how to grow corn properly, things like this. But yet, even taught them how to probably, fight better, to win other wars in other countries. We helped Rome, our ancestors did all that. But there's no pedestal for us to sit on. So we'll stay in the background. But the curtain is getting too old, too shabby, so we're gonna go ahead and open it up now. We're coming back. We're gonna let you know who the real trainers of this earth are. And it's us.
There's a couple things that I want to point out. One is adverse possession, and the basic definition of this is the occupation of land to which another person has title with the intention of possessing it as one's own. And
when you do that, I'm gonna follow up after that with this expression.
Okay.
Because it talks about that.
And with that is a map by the U.S. Court of Claims, but one of the tools that we utilize is one of the first recognitions of who owns what. And like I said, we belong to the land, but in legal terms, that white mind, the land belongs to them, and that has a lot to do with Christianity, the separation from Mother Earth, and the creating of a man like God, and the possession of the earth in His name. So forgive me for using that expression, but we utilize also the Treaty of Ghent, the 9th article. After the War of 1812, America and British, they hadn't gained or lost much ground, nothing too profound and that was over trade territories and things like that. They used to fight over us. You know, and what resources was going to be available to them. So they went to I can't remember where Ghent is, but like the Netherlands or something like that, Switzerland, neutral territory, and they created the treaty between the British and America, and that's where you get the current borders of Canada and America today. But in there, in the 9th article, it also acknowledges the relationships between British America and the Indians. So they created an article that included us, even though we really didn't know it, but now we know, right? So I'll read this to you, and it starts off with America's acknowledgement, and then right after that is another paragraph from Britain. It says the United States of America engaged to put an end immediately after the ratification of the present treaty to hostiles with all the tribes or nations of Indians with whom they may be at war at the time of such ratification, and forthwith to restore to such tribes or nations respectively all possessions and rights and privileges which they may have enjoyed and been entitled to in 1811 previous to such hostilities, provided always that such tribes or nations shall agree to desist from all hostilities against the United States of America, their citizens and subjects upon the ratification of the present treaty, being notified to such tribes and nations, and shall so desist accordingly. And His Britannic Majesty engages in his part to put an end immediately after the ratification of the present treaty to hostilities with all tribes and nations of Indians with whom he may be at war at the time of such ratifications, and forthwith to restore to such tribes and nations respectively all possessions, rights, and privileges to which they may have enjoyed or been entitled to in 1811 previous to such hostilities, provided always that such tribes and nations shall agree to desist from all hostilities against His Britannic Majesty and his subjects upon the ratification of the present treaty, being notified to such nations or tribes, and shall desist accordingly. Treaty of Ghent, 1814, Article 9. So all these things that we share, everybody can go look these up. I mean, you could Google it and read it for yourself, you know, and also the most important thing is that all this stuff is in the Supreme Court. It's in the Library of Congress, okay?
Also, this part, I'll let him read it because it's good.
Okay, in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, it talks about the rights of guaranteed privileges and immunities of citizens. So all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States.
And what are they doing?
Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal property or the equal protection of the law. All right. And so that's for U.S. citizens, and you can see how that breaches that, all the things that happen present day. That breaches a lot of our. I mean, the media getting arrested and thrown in, even today. You know, so the Treaty of Ghent is one of the treaties that we utilize. We back up our other treaty, the 51 and the 68 Laramie Treaty. Okay. And then there's U.S. Supreme Court decisions that were very vital. Worcester versus Georgia, in relationship to Georgia and the Cherokee Indians.
Read that to him. That also is We're giving you as in a broad view in short, but it's coming. These things that we talk about, they're all bridged together.
There's key words.
Yeah.
I'll emphasize those key
Yeah.
words too. So this is from our Sioux Nation of Indians Facebook page, and it defines treaty, what treaty means. A treaty, quote, treaty, a contract between sovereign nations. The Constitution declares treaties to be the supreme law of the land. As such, they are superior to state laws and state constitutions. Until 1871, treaties were the way in which the United States conducted its relations with Indian tribes. Most treaties contain two things. One, tribes will relinquish land to the U.S., and two, the U.S. provides federal protected reservations for Indian tribes. Such tribes are promised specific goods and services, medical, food, education, etc. Indian treaties have the same force and effect as federal statutes. A violation of an Indian treaty is a violation of federal law. So, with that being said about the treaty, 40 years later they introduced the American Citizenship Act.
And not only that, I'm no longer subject to a foreign power. So this is why we have these things that we're telling you. If I was a dual citizenship, I'm subject to a foreign power. Nation, state means nation in international terminology. So here I am, I'm full-fledged treaty Indian, government representative, treaty enforcer, repatriation, enrollment officer. But here we have rogue officials. I've identified them, we know who they are, and we are pursuing them with all we've told you is coming into the future here shortly. But we're getting together our people, international lawyers, and we are going to conduct a claim against them. And we know their names, we have them, who's involved, the company, the governor, the judge, the sheriff. They will be brought down and impeached world court because we're going beyond federal and state. We're not going to get anywhere there. We're going to go world court. Impeachment carries 20 years imprisonment if found guilty. So, and plus, they're delaying the process of our sovereignty movement into the future for the generations to come that aren't even here. They're going to destroy the water for them. That we don't want that. We can't have that. For our people to carry on, not be poisoned, sick. We're standing now.
The real simple thing about this is that what I just read about the definition of treaty, becoming an American citizen, how does that affect the definition of treaty? If now I'm playing for the other team, you know, and we don't even realize it. It's like we have to go through life with American glasses on and looking at our treaty with American glasses.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah. And so the only way to get out of that is to truly take the full weight of of treaty status, and to utilize that status in the court of law, mainly to educate, you know. And we're gonna have to we would like to approach law enforcement, the courts and things, and say, hey, we're here in a good way, but most likely that's not going to happen because the mentality is that they own the land. One of the other things that I wanted to look up and was something called original Indian title, and that's by that was kind of coined by Felix Cohen in the federal Indian laws. Okay, and I can't access Google, but I can just kind of read out of the Yale Law Library just a little bit of it says of original Indian title make the existence and extent of such aboriginal lands, and then it says ... But then there's also something called Aboriginal title in the United States. It says the United States was the first jurisdiction to acknowledge the recognized Indian title, unlike original Indian title, may have gave rise to taking claims. And you can read old newspapers that where the treaty was broken by the government. Wasn't so much that the government said, okay, all you guys can move into this treaty territory, right? It was that they didn't enforce it. They didn't tell all the white immigrants that, hey, this is treaty land, you guys got to get back. You guys got to go somewhere else. So that's been the hard part. Like when they started moving into the Black Hills, that was ours, and they moved in, and the U.S. government didn't protect us. They broke the treaty. They didn't live up to their end of the bargain, and so that's that court case, U.S. versus the Sioux Nation of Indians. We're already established in the 80s. We didn't even know it, and my biological father was the first to repatriate under the name Sioux Nation of Indians, and we're trying to continue that legacy. And there's so much more. The two-road wampum, the two-road treaty from the Haudenosaunee over by New York. The treaty that they made included all of us, all over the continent, that we would walk side by side, and so it's really hard. It's hard and humbling to think, gee, I got to walk side by side with America. They've broken all these treaties. Those are the intentions of our forefathers, to work together, right? The father that raised me is Frank Lemire, and he's done a lot of work in Indian country and politically. And he told me, when we were protesting white clay, Nebraska, the illegal liquor sales that are going on. He reminded everybody that the U.S. doesn't want to see you strong. They don't want to see you strong. They want to keep you weak. Because if you get strong with the heart and mind, and you tie those together, you're going to start asking questions. And even the people that don't have those things tied together, they have questions too, because they're a product of deprivation and opportunity. Look at all we gave. Look at how prosperous some simple, flea-bitten, exiled, diseased pilgrims, look how productive it all became for them. Okay. Starving, pitiful. And how come my people have everything, or how come my people have nothing and your people have everything? Our education, most of our reservations in each state, our education is the worst. In Nebraska alone, where I live, the 3 reservations that have state schools there, they're the last out of 450 schools. Santee and Omaha Nation have the worst, and then the Winnebagos are 7 from the bottom. And so our healthcare systems are failing. Tribes want to take over the healthcare systems, the treaty hospitals. They're treaty hospitals. And they're the worst. They're the worst in the nation. So how come we have the worst after all our generosity? How come we have the worst? So those are the questions that, because of my own sobriety and my own spirituality and my own using the intellect, our ability to have intellect like no other animal on the planet, to be able to use our mind to educate ourselves, to to reclaim and reestablish our nation. And it's a beautiful thing. It's it's really, really big. It's really, really big, but at the same time, yeah, we're doing an interview right now.
Oh, sorry, bro.
1 second. It's a beautiful thing. It's daunting, you know, because we have all these traditional codes and ways that we have to be mindful of as we navigate this too.
We also, as what he just said, our own traditional ways and codes that we follow. We have 7 values. I'm sure that they could share that, but we have it. We have our own law to, you know, we can't merge that with the U.S. system, but that's okay. But after all is said and done, we'll still forgive you. We'll still forgive you, the United States. You know, what is wrong, we're moving forward to make it right. So we're asking this American government to come to the table with us. You know, we're not trying to create enemies here. We're just going to turn our backs and walk away. Because we've done a lot, we've suffered a lot, we've endured a lot. So it's okay. We wipe that away, wash our hands. Let's start over. Let's renew this for both sides to once again navigate down our separate paths, separation of powers, with reciprocity in mind, tranquility, equality, you know, honor, respect, and everything for both sides. That's what we're asking. We want you to stop this because it's affecting everyone. And look, it's the Nation of Indians and all the bands within that are coming forward to bring this to your table. So we need to settle this issue now.
This is how we're identified on the treaty. In the treaty it says that they sat down, they met with bands.
Yeah.
Bands of Sioux Nation of Indians in Sioux country. Right? There's Sioux country right there. And then inside of the Sioux country there was different territories. Right? And here's the map of Sioux country. There's Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Iowa, Minnesota, and a little bit of Wisconsin over there. And so that's judicially established by the U.S. Court of Claims and the Justice Department.
And you see them as states, where I and him see it as country. I don't say I'm in North Dakota. I try to say I'm in Sioux country. We are in Sioux country now.
Right.
So we got to change that. If you don't mind, if it's good, and we're okay, you've got,
Yeah, I
I
think we're
got
good.
enough, then we can go and have sing a song.
I'm a part of the Great Sioux Nation. I'm Oglala Lakota, and I'm Isanti Lakota. I grew up being a Lakota, so I know majority of that. And I'm helping revitalize the Lakota language, and I'm a song maker. And I'm basically just here for my people. I made a song for the Sacred Stone Camp and this time in history, because our people, lots of our songs are based on history and what happened in times. So this song talks about the protectors of the earth to take courage, and future generations, they're depending on us. And talk about take stand for our water and take stand for our Mother Earth. hey hey oh 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 Unchi makagloni cheke bleche yapo ahia trokata we chon chareke wachini apelo ahia unchi makana prejuta troka heke Nake chinji po hey hey Unchi makagloni cheke bleche yapo ahia trokata we chon chareke wachini apelo ahia unchi makana prejuta troka heke Nake chinji po hey oh Doc Austin.
Ahoo. Good one. Good one. Thank you for that.
Your name.
What, did?
Yeah, Tom. Oh, you did?
Oh, actually I didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my name is Wambly Wichasha, it means Eagle Man, and my government name is Isaac Weston.
One of the things that I forgot to mention too is that, just real quick,
It's still rolling.
is that we'll even have potentially IDs for people that want to be friends and allies to the Sioux Nation of Indians. Yeah. Okay, and that also, since we can utilize that in those states, that map, people tired of paying 37-something% of their taxes, they can repatriate their land to the Sioux Nation of Indians. And we can make a treaty. We can make an agreement that they can live on that land. But, you know, they'll have to pay a tax to us instead of the U.S., you know, which would be significantly less than the state or federal property taxes and things like that.
Just the example is, Manape, I noticed you got 150,000 acres of land and you only got 20 cows on it, you know? Can we at least have 20,000 of that back? Yeah, well, how do I do that? Well, then he would say, well, or I would say, well, you can gift deed it back to the title of the original landowners, which is the deed. Gift deed it back to Sioux Nation of Indians. And then that's that. It's done. So 20,000 acres goes back to us. You have a good heart. You showed it. You showed us. You did the reciprocity part that we're looking for. That's what we want. In all fairness.
And we utilize the original Indian title that I mentioned in the Federal Indian Law Book by Felix Cohen. He quotes it, it's in French, but basically it breaks down to the U.S. can't give a deed. They can't give what they do not own. So even he recognized that there is Indian ownership outside of the reservations. Okay, and so whatever that deed is, that it's fictitious, but whatever that deed is, we can then say that landowner with sound mind and body relinquishes that land back to that nation. And I won't say treaty nation because we are a treaty nation, but that's how we identify ourselves. That's how we prove to the government that we are this nation that you made an agreement with. So that land would then be given back to the Sioux, and they would become friends and allies with us, right? By doing that, and we can make an agreement. I'll let you. You know what? You gave that back. We'll let you live there. We'll let you live there and live your life and do what you got to do. But you know that has to be within the Sioux Nations. And that map that I showed you, it shows all the countries, all the Indian countries, all over the U.S. And like so in California, you can do that with California. The whole state of California is labeled as California Indians. Okay, so if we could get all these little tribes to repatriate or at least identify as California Indian, then even in California they'd be able to repatriate that land to those treaty Indians.
There it is.
And Yosemite's back belongs to Indians, and all these things that we're fighting for. We're all looking at it with these American goggles on, you know, and we get away from that and try to start looking at things as treaty. But you need somebody to repatriate, to relinquish U.S. citizenship, tribal enrollment,
And claim.
and claim that title. Because then, once you do that, your vision of everything's going to change.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, wow, the possibility, the potential.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, that's it. Understand.
But wait, like I think this might be technical, but it might need to be researched. This came to my mind. Aliens told me, Josh. I'm just kidding. But they're teaching us all this. And by the way, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, what it is that I was told 35 or 37 acres in Minnesota, 18, I believe, over there, and 10 miles, 35 miles, or 18 or something, like one of them three numbers is actually all realistically and legally that the U.S. owes of anything as far as land goes. That what is that thing number they do it over there? And, it's a little strip of 10 miles of land, and where the actual United States has that land.
And then they don't use it.
And then, yeah,
To
it's a
reclaim
different
it.
country. I
Oh.
forgot what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember what that's called.
But yeah, they don't really. This is not America. Somewhere they just won't say that, but they assume it is. But there is some. I can't remember it, but District of Columbia. Is that what it is?
Yeah, there was something that happened with the District of Columbia's corporatization.
Yeah.
There's people that I'm sure you might know that could help us understand that.
Yeah.
So, really, what we need, we're looking for an international lawyer,
Yep.
and we're looking to we're trying to collect funds to drop this case on North and South Dakota and DAPL. And just to start, we're looking for $15,000 to push forward this lawsuit and to get the retainer fee. Some of that is going to be for room and board while we're in D.C. And then, but
Travel,
we have
all that.
a little bit of travel, and then at least try to get that injunction in.
Yeah.
And
Because we have all pertinent documentation, everything's ready to roll. It's ready to go.
really, we need it ASAP. But then we're going to need we're going to need that funding or those donations and funding to kind of continue, so that way we can keep fighting that. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge for all Indian country. It's going to be huge for even the beneficiaries of our land, our friends and allies. You know, it's going to be huge for them too, because that's what's going to save. Our treaty work is what's going to save not just our land, but also state lands that are threatened by eminent domain. And now we're the true caretakers. DAPL didn't approach us. They might have approached a federally recognized tribe. They could throw money at that. But they didn't approach the treaty Indians, because we're here. That means they have to talk to us, you know. And so anybody that's out there that lives within an Indian country, this is what's going to save your land. So once again, according to those prophecies, all things are going to come back to the Indian way. This is it. I think this is part of that prophecy. I really do. And but yeah, we need financial help to get the appropriate international lawyers, because all these treaties are on the international level.
Yep.
And man, if we can muster some resources just to even get the injunction right now, I mean, like literally, if we could do it within the next week or two, that'd be great, you know. But yeah, that's what we need, and it's going to be beneficial for everybody here, so we could truly protect the land. Gracias.